Recently, Dr. Brittany Cooper, who teaches women's gender and sexuality studies at Rutgers University, sat down for an interview with The Root.
Despite what white people think of themselves, they do not defy the laws of eternity, right? Their projects are not so sophisticated.
Clips from that interview are now going viral as the professor seems to display an intense hatred and resentment for white people, whom she seems to describe as inherently violent.
I think that white people are committed to being villains in the aggregate.
And perhaps most worryingly, in this same interview, the professor also describes a desire to take white people out, though she later clarifies that she, of course, does not mean violently.
The thing I want to say to you is we got to take these out. But I know, but like, we can't say that, right? We can't say, like, I don't believe in a project of violence.
Instead, she refers to the declining birth rate among white people as a good thing and something that they deserve.
So white people's birth rates are going down. They're the only group whose birth rates are going down in the country. We literally live in a system where even white people cannot sustain the cost of their own lives, right? And by that, I mean the elevated cost of their own lives. It's super perverse, and also they kind of deserve it.
At this point, it should come as no surprise to any of us that professors at American institutions are increasingly also doubling as far-left activists. But I think what has still shocked people about Dr. Cooper's words are the intense animosity she carries toward white people. In a world obsessed with CRT and dismantling white privilege, it seems that on American campuses, at least, it has become acceptable to display outright racial prejudice against white people. And blatant racism aside, what makes this whole situation even more shocking is the fact that Rutgers is a public institution, meaning that Dr. Brittany Cooper's salary of around $114,000 per year is essentially paid for in part by taxpayers. Would American taxpayers, especially Caucasian taxpayers, really be happy to know that their money is going to fund a professor who is outright teaching her students to be prejudiced against them?
This professor and all the woke alike are the problem. This generation not responsible for the behavior of their ancestor. Teaching history to point previous generation fault and ask compensation from current generation, that is ridiculous.
Rutgers, she should not be teaching this kind of hate to students. Do better.
Rutgers, this is the kind of professors you have teaching at your school? Just took you off my students' application list. This is appalling.
And if you're a parent with a child in university right now or who will be in university soon, this is also something to keep in mind. Frankly, a college education simply isn't what it used to be, and unless you screen potential colleges for your child carefully, you could end up paying between $15,000 to $30,000 per year, in the case of Rutgers University, for your child to be indoctrinated in the art of racial division. And I know it's a cliche to even mention this at this point, but imagine for 1 second the outrage that would happen if a white professor had been caught on camera saying the same things that Dr. Cooper has said about Black people.
White people showed up being raggedy and violent and terrible and trying to take everything from everybody.
That professor would be fired immediately and with good reason, but as of yet, Rutgers has remained silent on what consequences, if any, Dr. Cooper will face.